it's Liz from Old Stables Crafts, independent Stampin' Up demonstrator. Today is an Inspire Create Challenge Day, and our theme today is animals. So I have brought out the Hedgehugs stamp set from the Occasions catalogue. It is so cute. It is adorable. It is great for all sorts of occasions because you can send hedgehugs to anyone you want. But it's also ideal for birthdays, just because days, really whatever takes your fancy. It's pretty much hidden. It's on page 38 of the Spring Summer catalogue. It's just behind the Myths and Magic, and it's just before the bunnies and the birds. And I don't know. I think when you get to here, the rest of it kind of disappears a bit, and then you jump to the next suite, which is a great suite, don't get me wrong. But there we are, so Hedgehugs. So let me show you what I have done. So I've done this little kind of Polaroid type setup. I've got the toadstools in the front, our two little hedgehogs behind, and then a little bird up in the corner. And today is special Just Like You, which I thought was cute. And I've also used some of our new sequin, what do we call them? I've got mine in Tutti Frutti adhesive backed sequins, which come in a whole array of colours, and I'm using the iridescent blue because I'm basically on a soft sky kind of feel. So let me show you what I have done and how I've put this together. I have got a soft sky card base, which is standard. Cut your piece of card in half, score it down the middle, and there's your card base. I've got an insert because even though it's soft sky, it's better to have an insert. And I have just stamped a little flower down in the bottom right hand corner. Then I have got this Polaroid frame, which is cut at, I very carefully wrote it down, and now I've lost the piece of paper. Oh, there it is. I've tucked it away carefully. So in Imperial, the metric I will put on my blog, the link for which is directly below. So this is 3 and, let me just put it on a better surface for you to see. Right. 3 7/8 by 3 3/8, and then to get the Polaroid I have taken the largest of the layering square framelets, the straight edge layering frame framelets, what I would call number 9, and that's what I've used to cut the square out of the middle. Just ran it through my Big Shot. And then I've got a piece of, again, Whisper White cut at 3 1/4 square, which is what I'll use for the stamping. I have already embossed using the new, from the Spring Summer catalogue, Scattered Sequins Dynamic Textured Impressions embossing folder. It is gorgeous. If you haven't looked at that yet, I highly recommend it, and you can either use it embossed or debossed. I prefer it embossed, so with it coming up. And it just gives a nice sort of bit of a background. And then because I'm using the sequins as embellishments, it kind of ties it together. This is my standard larger mat, which is 5 5/8 by 3 7/8. And again, the dimensions will be on my blog. So that's all the pieces. I'm going to start with the small square. Pop those bits in there. I need a piece of scrap paper because I'm actually going to stamp wider than the piece of card. Now, because I want the toadstools in the front, I'm going to have to stamp those first, and I will stamp them twice. Now, they are in 3 colours because you've got the top of the toadstool, the stalk, and then the grass around them. So I'm using my Stampin' Right markers, and I am using Basic Black, which you can buy as a single, Old Olive and Real Red, which come as part of the Brights collection, or you may have those from previous collections or duos that we've had. So I'm going to start by colouring in the tops of my toadstools with my Real Red. There are a number of duos that come out. Every now and again we get duos of Stampin' Right markers, and I always get them. I've got the Many Marvellous markers, but if a duo comes out, I always buy it, because particularly for class and coffee and card events, it's great to have some spares, and having them as duos is a great way to get your hands on them. I'm going to do the Old Olive next, and just pick out the little bits of grass, which is basically anything that isn't stalk. And then, you see I'm using the brush end, because we've got the nice brush end at one end, which is denoted by this thick stripe, and then a writing end, which is denoted by the thin stripe. I'm using the brush end, and I'm using it flat. I'm not going in straight down, I'm going in to use the side, and that way you protect your point. Otherwise you can end up ruining the point of your marker, and we don't want that. So there we go. I'm going to huff, and then make sure my mushrooms are the right way up and sort of in the middle, and just stamp down. And that's our first little selection. And then go back and do exactly the same again. So as I say, Inspire Create Challenge, our theme this month is, or this fortnight, because we do a new challenge each fortnight, is animals. So any animals, it's a really easy theme. Excuse me, got a slight tickle in my throat. You don't have to use new, out of the spring, summer catalogue stamps. You can use any stamps you've got, so long as you follow the theme. And because it's just animals, it's a really easy theme to follow. So you could use the new rabbits, which are gorgeous. You could use the baby bear, anything you want. And I can do that slightly higher up. Oh, apparently not slightly higher up. And then just clean that off with my stamping scrub. So that's all nice and clean. Now, I have already cut 2 little masks to cover these up, because in order to then put my hedgehogs so they are behind my toadstools, I need to cover up my toadstools. And then I can stamp straight over the top to do my hedgehogs. Better if you're going to err on the side of having it too high or too low, have it slightly low, because we will probably find that we'll end up with a seam, which I will explain when we get there. Right, I've got both of my hedgehogs mounted up on one block, because that way they're exactly where I need them. And I'm going to use early espresso for those. So I'm just going to ink those up well. I probably need to re-ink my early espresso ink pad, but hey. And then I'm going to come so that they're at the top of the toadstools, but overlapping. And I know I'm going over the edge. I really don't care that I'm going over the edge. And then I want to press those really quite hard. And even though I've pressed really hard, I have got, exactly as I said thought I was going to, a seam. But it's fine. We can sort that out. So let's get rid of the early espresso. Take off our little, actually, will I leave? No, I'll take them off now. Take off our little masks. And these are just on Post-it note. Just make sure that when you do them, you actually get them on the sticky bit of your Post-it note. And then I just keep those in my stamp set so that they're there for next time. So we've got this shadow. Now, there are 2 ways of sorting this out. You can either use a blender pen and the ink pad, or I have it, so I'm going to use it, the Stampin' Right marker. It's the same ink as is in the ink pad, so all I'm doing is just touching in that side. And if I'll use a blender pen for the other one, and then you can see. So if you've got the blender pen, great. If you've got the Stampin' Right markers, great. So blender pen, just make sure it's clean. I always make sure it's clean first. And all I've got is a little puddle of ink. So I've squeezed the ink pad to get some ink in the lid. Pick it up with my blender pen, and then just use it as if it were a Stampin' Right marker. You can tell I'm concentrating because I've stopped talking. So there you go. It's perfect either way. As I say, it's just whether you want to use, if you've got the blender pen, then you've got the ink pad, obviously, then that's the way to go. Or if you've got the Stampin' Right marker, then use that. Okay, so I don't need that again just yet. I now need to do my little birdie, and again I'm using the Stampin' Right marker in Old Olive for the leaves, and because I've got it, I'm going to use the Stampin' Right marker in Early Espresso for the bird itself. Actually, I'll do it the other way round. I always try to use the lighter colour before the darker colour, so that if I do touch one on the other, I'm not staining the lighter colour. All I'm doing is putting a bit of the lighter colour on the dark, and that really doesn't matter. So, there we go. Let's give that a huff, and we're going to pop that in the sort of top of our piece of card, and hopefully that's not so high that it's going to come off the top. We can adjust that a bit when we come to put our frame over. No, that's perfect. Marvellous. Okay, so that's that. I am actually just going to leave that to dry for one moment, and I will stamp the sentiment, and I'm using the same sentiment, which is today is special just like you, and I'm going to use Early Espresso again. Make sure I've got my stamp the right way up, which I have, and then just in the bottom right hand corner of my frame, stamp. I actually did a better job of stamping that than I did the first time, so that's all good. And then while I'm at it, I might as well stamp the inside of my card, and this is just so that I can leave the ink to dry a little bit, because I'm going to come in with blends. Right, so I've got the Old Olive again, which I think of as a slightly lighter colour than the Real Red, so that goes down first on the leaves of this little flower, and then the Real Red on top for the flower. And this is actually a little heart. The little flower is actually a heart, and then just pop that down in the bottom right hand corner. And that's that. And it's just a little something on the inside. Right, okay, so colouring. Where are we time-wise? Good grief, 13, nearly 14 minutes. Okay, so blends, crumb cake and crumb cake, dark crumb cake, light crumb cake. You can get them as a duo. All I am going to do is just run round the outside of my hedgehog, and just on his little arm there, and then in a bit. Now, everyone says use Memento as your ink for using blends. You can actually use the classic ink as well, just don't use the archival ink because it won't work. It will bleed. But this is fine. Using the classic ink is fine because it's a water-based ink. Now, I didn't actually do that on the original, but I then realised that I hadn't done it, so that's that. then I'm also going to come in now with the light. Sorry about that, the memory card ran out. So anyway, all I was doing was colouring in, so that's fine. And hopefully I'll be able to splice this together without too many issues. Right, so that's everything coloured. So I now need to stick one to t'other. And to do that, I'm just going to use a little bit of our multi-purpose glue, because that will give me the wiggle room that I will probably need to get it where I want it. So I'm just running a very thin line round the edge of the frame. And, ooh, getting light streaming in through my window. It's actually a reflection because the sun is actually that way, but it's bouncing off my window, which is that way. Didn't think I'd have that as an issue at the moment. We've had such dreadful weather recently that, frankly, too much light was not one of the problems that I've been suffering from. Okay, just check that it's reasonably overlapping, which it is, and then just leave that to dry whilst we put everything else together. So we've got our card base, don't need this anymore, so I will just run some fast fuse, soon to go. Fast fuse, yes, if you want fast fuse, get it now whilst it's still in stock. Once it's gone, we know that it is not going to be replaced, or reordered, I should say. I do not know what, if anything, is going to be replacing it. As soon as we know, I will share what I can. May not be able to share everything, but I will share what I can. Let me just give that a better burnish. And then I'm going to use multi-purpose adhesive for the background. I do like multi-purpose adhesive for anything embossed because it kind of picks up the bit that's flat, and also it's a really good adhesive. So, and you don't need much. I mean, I've just scribbled really across the back, and then just pop that down. And then we just need some dimensionals on the back of this. And this is normal. This is what happens when you use your alcohol markers, particularly because I've used the smooth Whisper White. You can use the thick Whisper White or the shimmer white. They don't tend to bleed across quite so much. They'll still come through the back, but because they are that bit thicker, they can take more of the alcohol, which is really what's happening. The alcohol is being pushed through the paper. But I've not really had a problem with using the smooth Whisper White, so long as you're aware that it's going to bleed. Then you just, you know, act accordingly. And then I'm putting this at a jaunty angle because I think it just adds a something. Smooth that down. And then grab my, I put them somewhere. Oh, there they are. I buried them. That's what I did. Grab my sequins, self-adhesive sequins. It's great. No more having to worry about how you're going to stick your sequins on. So I'm going to have one there. As you know, I like my triangles. One there and one up in the top corner. So there we are. Sorry about the hiatus in the middle. I think those are really cute. They're just such fun. So if you've enjoyed that, please give it a thumbs up. Sorry about the shadow there. Please give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe, bottom right hand corner. If you need any of the products, pop over to my website, which is linked immediately below, and you'll find the dimensions both in metric and imperial there. There's also a link below to all my social media, including my online store. I would love to win your custom. I try to look after my customers really, really well. Anyone who uses, who who orders from me and is happy for me to know their contact details will get a handmade card and a handmade gift regardless of the size of order. If you use the Hostess Code, then you also get a share in the Hostess Rewards. And remember, during Celebration, there are extra Hostess Rewards because if we get a big order, we can add an extra £20 to the stamping rewards. So, if you would like any of these products, do pop over to my online store and get them in the basket. And remember, during Celebration, you get to pick free stuff as well. So that's always good. I hope you are inspired to have a go at our challenge. Have a look on my blog. There's a link to the main Inspire Create Challenge group website. So click on that and you'll see what all the other members of the design team have been up to. They will have some gorgeous projects. I haven't seen them yet, but I know they'll be gorgeous because they are so talented. I'm humbled to be part of their team. So yeah, I hope there is something there to inspire you. Thanks a lot for watching, and I will see you again very soon. Bye!